In 1947, Los Angeles was shaken by the discovery of Elizabeth Short, later dubbed the Black Dahlia. Her body was found brutally mutilated in an empty lot, sparking one of the most infamous unsolved murders in U.S. history. Despite multiple suspects and decades of theories, no one was ever convicted. The case remains a symbol of Hollywood's dark underbelly. Fame, corruption, and secrets. The brutality and mystery keep the story alive, still unforgiven by history. The town bell exploded at midnight. Clang, clang, clang. Like it wanted to crack the sky. I ran to the old clock tower in my socks. The door was open a little. A rope swung inside like a tail. On the dusty floor lay a white ribbon, the kind my teacher, Miss Ellis, wore every Friday. Up the stairs, a cold voice said my name. "Hello, Eli." A tall shape stood by the bell, face hidden by a dark brim. It tapped the bell once, pointed down, and the lights flashed. On the gear platform, I saw a neat woman's shoe and a burned note nailed to a beam, "Unsolved and Unforgiven." The lights blinked off. The shape was gone. Footsteps thundered up the stairs behind me. "Back. Everyone back," the police chief shouted. Someone whispered, "She's not the first," and my stomach turned to ice. Earlier that day, everything felt normal in Maple Ridge, our small river town. "I'm Eli Parker, 12, paper route after school." Ms. Ellis smiled in class and pinned a white ribbon in her hair. She said, "Word or keys," and planned a Friday spelling bee. After school, I passed Clock Square. Mr. Keene, the watchmaker, cleaned the clock face and told me, "A tower is a big watch for everyone." At dinner, Mom tested soup for the diner. A soft knock came. No one stood at the door. Only a paper bag with 4 red apples and a folded note. Mom read it, went pale, and said it was a mix-up. She hid the apples in the pantry and shut the door like it held thunder. Near midnight, another tap came. At my window this time. On the sill sat one of those apples and a small note in tall letters. Midnight. The tower. Come alone. I should have told Mom. I didn't. I put on my jacket and followed the river wind to the square. The bell went wild. I climbed the stairs, found the ribbon, the shoe, the burn message, and heard the voice that knew my name. Now the platform swarmed with people. Chief Adler lifted a tarp and froze. He set it back like tucking in a child. He told everyone to go home. But the bell kept ringing in my head, and the note burned in my pocket, and I could feel the tower holding a secret that didn't want to stay quiet. The morning after the bell, Maple Ridge looked the same, but it didn't feel the same. Sunlight touched the roofs and the river, yet the air carried a heaviness, like a blanket no one asked for. People moved in whispers. At school, the principal stood at the door of Miss Ellis's classroom, forcing a smile that didn't belong on his face. "Good morning, students," he said. "You'll have a substitute today." He didn't explain. He didn't say her name. The desks looked too neat, her ribbon missing from the chair. We sat with Mrs. Clump, who taught math with shaky chalk. During recess, kids huddled in knots. Some said Miss Ellis had gone to visit family. Others swore she was sick. Jonah, the loudest in class, kicked the ball clear across the yard and muttered, "They're lying. She wouldn't just leave." I wanted to believe she'd come back, smiling with her stack of books. But the burned note in my pocket told me different. That afternoon, I stopped by the watchmaker's shop. Mr. Keene polished a pocket watch, the brass key to the tower lying on his cloth. His hands, usually steady, trembled a little. He didn't look up when he said, "Hard night, wasn't it?" I nodded, unsure what to answer. "The tower keeps memories," he went on, voice low. "Some memories don't like being forgotten." His eyes finally met mine. "You were there first, Eli. That means something." I swallowed hard, because I didn't know if it was a gift or a curse. When I got home, Mom was at the table making one of her worry lists. I caught 3 words before she flipped the page over. Apples, note, midnight. I asked her about it, and she smiled too quickly, telling me to eat. But the fruit bowl held 4 red apples that looked too shiny, too perfect. I didn't touch them. Later that night, when I opened a book about the town's history to calm my nerves, a slip of paper fell out. It was thin and old, with a list of names scrawled in dark ink. Some had check marks. Others had excess. My eyes froze when I read one. Ellis. I tucked the paper into my pocket beside the burned note. 2 secrets now, beating like twin hearts. I didn't know what they meant, but I knew one thing. Whatever had started at the tower wasn't finished, and I was already inside the story whether I wanted to be or not. The days that followed felt wrong, like the town was holding its breath. People avoided the clock tower, walking around the square instead of through it. At school, Miss Ellis's chair stayed empty. The substitute never smiled, and kids whispered her name like it was fragile glass. Every time I reached into my pocket, I felt the 2 papers, the burned note and the list with names, and my stomach twisted. One evening, Mom stepped onto the porch with me. The sun was sinking red behind the river, and she said quietly, "Eli, some stories in this town are better left alone." Her eyes didn't meet mine. She held one of those apples, turning it slowly in her hand. I wanted to ask about the note she found, about why she hid it, but the word stayed locked inside me. She bit the apple, and for the first time, I thought I saw fear in her face. That night, I dreamed of the bell again, but this time it didn't ring. It whispered, over and over, in a voice that was neither man nor woman, unsolved and unforgiven. I woke with sweat on my skin, the sound still curling around my ears. I went to my window, and the night air was sharp and cold. Sitting on the sill was another folded paper. My chest tightened as I opened it. The drawing was simple. The clock tower, a staircase, and a black X halfway up. Underneath, in the same sharp letters, it read, "Find what they left behind." I stared until the ink seemed to move. Someone had been at my window again, close enough to touch. I pressed the paper flat with shaking hands, then tucked it into my pocket with the others. The next morning, Jonah grabbed my sleeve before class. His voice was low but steady. "I saw someone at your house last night," he said. "A man in a dark coat. He stood across the street, just watching your window." My heart slammed so hard it hurt. I wanted to tell him about the notes, about the list, but I couldn't. Instead, I just nodded, and Jonah narrowed his eyes. "Something's happening, Eli, and if we don't figure it out, we'll be next." By the 4th night, I couldn't carry the weight of the notes alone. The burned message, the list of names, the drawing of the black X, they all pointed back to one place, the tower. When the square was quiet, I slipped out again. Jonah followed, saying he wouldn't let me face it by myself. Together, we pushed open the tower door. The smell of dust and iron wrapped around us. Halfway up the stairs, right where the X had been drawn, Jonah's foot caught on a loose board. Beneath it, hidden for years, was a small metal box. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside lay scraps of ribbon, faded photos, and torn pieces of school papers, things belonging to people who had disappeared long ago. At the very top was a photograph of Ms. Ellis, smiling with her white ribbon, just days before she vanished. Across the back, scrawled in the same sharp letters as the notes, were the words, "The town forgot. I never will." The bell above us groaned, though no one pulled the rope. Then we heard footsteps on the stairs. Slow, heavy, Jonah grabbed my arm. A tall figure appeared in the shadows, the brim of his hat hiding his face. His voice was calm, the same as that night. Unsolved, unforgiven. Chief Adler's flashlight cut through the dark. "Stop right there," he shouted. The figure froze, then slipped down a side stair and vanished into the night like smoke. Officers swarmed the tower, pulling us back to the square. Everyone gathered again, faces pale under the streetlights. The metal box was carried out in silence. The chief held it high. "These are not just relics. These are records of people our town failed to protect." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Old Mrs. Hart whispered, "It's begun again." My mom came to my side, her hand gripping mine so tight it hurt. In the days that followed, Miss Ellis was never found. The note stopped, but the fear didn't. The clock tower still stood, white-faced watching, its bell silent as if waiting. And sometimes when I walk by at night, I swear I hear a whisper from high above, "Find what they hid, or the bell will ring again." The story of Maple Ridge stayed unsolved and unforgiven